gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for March 5th, 2025 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, will a big change in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 upset fans, and tariffs may discourage publishers from releasing physical games in the United States. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Lucy James Games, everybody. Lucy, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. How was your trip?
It was great, thank you. Yeah, I didn't get, I haven't had a holiday, like an actual holiday in years. So this trip came up for Expedition 33, and I was like, well, I'm going all the way to Japan. I might as well tack some days on at the end.
That's the way to think about it. That's the way I would attack that situation. So you got to, like, Expedition 33 in Japan. That game's made in France, right? Why'd they have you come to Japan?
That French game made entirely by a French team. But so it was because the game is so heavily inspired by Japanese games like Final Fantasy VIII, Sekiro. And so we kind of pitched them a while ago on shooting a kind of basically like a giant bomb travelogue where we walk around things like Tower Records, we go to Super Potato, and we talk to the developers. And we also have a very fun interview that's kind of unexpected pop up in the middle of it. So that's being edited right now. And
is it DJ Ass Tits again?
I wish. Oh my god, imagine if she'd been in Tokyo while we were there. But it was a really fun trip, work-wise. And then, I met up with my friend who lives in Taiwan, who I haven't seen in 10 years. So we just hung out for the weekend.
Oh, that's nice. Fun. Oh, yeah, I saw some of your pictures. It looked like a great trip. Glad you got to do that.
I went to the most giant bomb place ever.
Ribera Steakhouse.
No, it's called Muscle Girls. And it's a bar full of muscly women, and you can pay them to slap you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Jan, we got to go to Japan. We got to get a trip going, and we got to get. I can't just pay a woman to slap me. I need to expense it through work. That completes the whole thing.
Yeah. So I got a. They lift you up like they do a honeymoon carry, and I've never felt so safe. I didn't get slapped. I didn't go to slap. I didn't get a slap, but I did get a carry. I know. But also it's all you can drink for like 80 minutes, very specifically 80 minutes in and out. The girls were amazing. It was really, really fun. And it's kind of inspired me to go to the gym now. I want to be a muscle girl.
I believe in all of our abilities to be muscle girls on this show. Absolutely. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with tariffs threaten the future of physical video games and analyst warns. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. After weeks of threats, Trump has now imposed 25% tariffs on goods that have been imported from Mexico and Canada into the United States. In addition, Trump announced a further 10% tariff on goods from China, on top of the previously announced 10% tariffs that already went through. The tariffs on Mexico and China will likely have a significant impact on the video game industry due to both regions playing a large part in the physical production of both physical video games and game consoles themselves, as well as like accessories and any number of other things. Posting on Blue Sky, Circana analyst Matt Piscatella suggested that at the increased cost to import physical goods from Mexico, which is where the vast majority of discs from North American physical games are produced, could see publishers move further away from physical games. In response to Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmad, noting that the 20% China tariff impacts on consoles and the 25% Mexico tariff will affect physical game manufacturers. Piscatella added, very small piece of all of this, but it wouldn't surprise me to see physical games that would be subject to tariffs simply not get made, with publishers moving to an all-digital strategy What a mess. Yeah, I mean, like let's just put ourselves in the shoes of someone who has to make these decisions, right? Lucy, if
Mm,
you are producing, you already have it set up, so you produce the games in Mexico. You do it there because it made a lot of sense. The
mm,
labor is affordable, relatively speaking, and then you can ship it into the United States in a way that was also affordable because we're neighbors. So it made a lot of sense. You set all these things up, you're ready to go. And now to do that same exact thing, you have an automatic added cost of 25% added on top of what you plan to sell those goods for. Um, that and you can take as much of that hit as you possibly can, but what these companies always do and what anyone would do, I think that's why I'm saying put ourselves in the shoes is, well, that's an added cost. Now we have to tack that on to what we charge for the product. So you kind of are in a situation where you can't super do that with video game prices, right, Lucy? Where people will like notice if their games go up 25%
mm.
when you ship a physical game into the country. So they're locked here a little bit. That doesn't mean they can't raise the prices some. They probably will. But I think the more likely scenario for a lot of companies is, for the vast majority, for like anything that other than the biggest games would be, let's just stick to digital and we'll figure out physical later if we can like maybe sell a special edition that costs even more, and that's where we'll factor in the price increase. What do you think?
So I mean, I think Matt is an amazing follow on Blue Sky. I think
Good boy.
everyone can tend to be following him. He was also posting that kind of within the context of this is that spending is going down in video games, especially amongst Gen Z. They just don't have
Yep.
the buying power. Even our generation, the millennials, like buying is going down. An increase in prices of upwards of like maybe 25% is just going to hit video games so hard. And yeah, I mean, I'm not really a physical media collector anymore, but many people are. And it's just very sad and frustrating. And yeah, pricing out of customers when the industry is already struggling. I mean, who realistically is immune from this?
Yeah.
GTA?
GTA, games for families, Nintendo, some of their
Yeah.
games specifically. Apparently, Chris String wrote on Blue Sky that while 85% of Space Marine 2's, and this is in the UK, but
Mm,
85% of Space Marine 2 sales were digital in the UK. Other games like Astrobot, 55% were physical. So it's
mhm,
like there are pockets of audiences out there that want to be able to buy a thing to hand to someone. Like that's crucial to how that side of the business operates for a lot of people, because they are buying something for someone else, and buying digital gifts is just a little bit different than buying someone
mm,
a physical game. But excuse me, but that is only going to go so far in the decision making process for these companies when they are still deciding, hey, okay, yeah, sure, that audience is out there, but we might like lose money selling to that audience now,
mm.
based on how much these, or we might make more money when we kind of put it side by side with, okay, we'll sell fewer if they can only get it digitally, but we're going to make more money from each copy, so we should just do that.
Mm.
The alternative here, Lucy, is game prices go up across the board, right? Because these companies might be able to say, hey, because of tariffs, we are now the base price for video games is $80, and also for the digital version, it's $80 because we want to
Mm.
match the prices. We want to make sure that retail and digital are matching as close as possible. That's what we've always done. We're going to continue doing that, and having the increased price that isn't quite 25%. On the physical version, but having that then also tacked onto the digital, maybe add those together, that kind of makes up the difference a little bit for these companies. I don't know, but I get the sense that these publishers are not going to want to wait as long as they did last time to raise prices from, we went from 50 to 60 when I was a kid, when we
Mm.
went from um, Xbox to, was it Xbox 360, and then we went to 60 to 70 just recently. And
Mm.
now it's like that was a very long gap. There was a long time between the 50 to 60 from the 60 to 70. I think they are probably going to want to raise prices again here relatively soon. And this might serve as an excuse to do that, which goes back to what you were speaking about when we first started the conversation of,
Mm.
there is an audience, a younger audience, that looks at this hobby and sees the way that we used to do things, or the way that we still do things with consoles and buying games, and says, this is expensive. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep playing my free to play games on my phone.
I'm gonna keep playing Roblox on my phone.
I'm gonna keep playing Roblox like on these older devices or these devices that I already have. So it feels like the downward spiral of the way this business operates continues in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's just another piece of shit on the shoe, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Love to be an immigrant in this country.
Yep. We're good to them, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's I think that people can also hear this and be like, well, he's already talking about bringing away the tariffs from Canada that he just added the other day.
So the thing is about this, I just can't do it. I can't keep up with it because everything changes so frequently. Yeah.
You're not supposed to keep up with it. That's the whole point. It's a flood the zone strategy. Steve Bannon came up with it, and Trump is following it. Absolutely, they are flooding the zone with too much information for people to keep up with. It's the line from Andor. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities or whatever than just one big bad thing. That's what they're doing, and so that also speaks to the point though that these companies also can't keep up with it. They don't know what to expect. The uncertainty has certainly come home to roost now. You can look at the stock market's reaction to the news recently, and all of the gains from when Trump was elected from the stock market, from nihilists who believed that was going to be a good thing for their portfolio, all that's been wiped out already in the last couple of days, last few weeks. So that comes from not like necessarily the actions that are being implemented. It is from not knowing what will happen next. And Nintendo, PlayStation, Microsoft, EA, all the big publishers, and then anyone who is like a small company that is like started manufacturing games in like China or maybe Vietnam or something like that. They don't know what to expect. So they might have to just increase prices to build in a buffer between them and what could happen. Whether or not it actually does happen, who knows? Because no one knows. He doesn't know what he's going to do next.
Yep.
All right. Let's keep going here. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 is streamlining goals, but no one knows what that means. This is from Will Nelson at PC Games N. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 is about to bring back some of the best games from the entire series, and it's poised to be quite the nostalgic blast from the past. I still fondly remember gliding around Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4's college level, exploring the parking lot, and making my way onto the rooftops at my own pace. That said, there's been some confusion as to whether or not 3+4 Remake will work the same way. Basically, they put out a statement here that says that 3+4 will feature streamlined goals, Lucy, in the 2-minute format. The streamlined goals in the 2-minute format, along with some new parks to expand your skating options, is how they phrased it. And so people are reading that as, for those who don't know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 did use that 2-minute format. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 did not have a time limit in levels, so you could explore at your own pace, as Will Nelson here at PC Games N explained. It sounds like for 3+4, this remaster, this remake, that they will be changing that so that 3 and 4 work the same way, both with a 2-minute timer, and that so they will fundamentally have to change the way that the goals and maybe even the levels worked in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. We don't know for sure exactly what that looks like, but it sounds like that's very likely here. Lucy, I'll just say, as someone who liked 4 a lot, this one, it doesn't scare me too much. I feel like they can probably make this work pretty easily. But some people are like, certainly like, hey, I liked not having a time limit. I wish that was here. We could sympathize with that, right?
Yeah, I barely remember 3 and 4 because I was like a 1 and 2 girl. And I don't think I played much 3 and 4, but I was a big fan of Underground and American Wasteland because...
Right.
Yeah,
Underground worked that same way, right? Where there was no time limit. And like you could see, like as they were going on, this would be more difficult to do, to sort of like change it back into the 2-minute format. They probably can make this work.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm intrigued to see how the community reacts to it. Like, where's Jake? Get me Jake Baldino on the phone.
Yeah.
What does he think about it? But I think I've left Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in the past. Sadly, maybe I'll dip back in, but it's not something that I saw this announcement coming and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on that. I hope it finds a new audience. I'm because it was such an iconic series of games. But sadly, they kind of ran it into the ground a little bit. What was that? What? Oh, it was Tony Hawk's Ride.
Tony Hawk's Ride was the motion control one that came with the board. Did it come out for Wii and you like inserted the Wii remote? Probably not. I think I never actually played Ride.
I didn't play it. But no, the other Tony Hawk news. Dan Reichert immediately. I have my Ride controller ready to go. Is that Margera might not be returning? You see this?
Oh, is that one of the bands or whatever?
Bam Margera.
Oh, Bam Margera. I thought you said Margero. I'm like, what is Margera? I'm like, yeah, Bam Margera is not going to be in this game. They're not. No one wants to give that guy money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad. Vice did a very good documentary a couple of years ago about Bam, and it's very, very sad watch, but it's a good watch.
Yes.
Band Margera. God damn it.
Yeah, I would listen to that.
It's called CKY.
That's the name of the show.
His brother is in the band. CKY.
Boy.
Sorry.
We're on fire today. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is definitely one that I'm a huge fan of still. I do play that game quite frequently. I will just go back to that game if I want it to work the way it used to work before. I also think that they will continue to find an audience because that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 was the best-selling Tony Hawk game ever. And skating is more popular around the world than it's ever been. I think this game, is, with Activision seeming to treat it like a big deal and kind of treating it as a big launch, to me, that's a good sign that they can be able to. They'll be able to reach those pockets of skaters around the world that maybe weren't, they were not born yet. They weren't even close to being born yet. Their parents probably might not have been born yet. They're like, these skaters are 12 years old doing 900s and 1080s, and they've probably not played too much Tony Hawk, although I bet they know a bunch of memes about it and stuff like that. So, hey, this will be here to serve them as an opportunity to actually get in and try these games out. All right, PlayStation lays off more developers. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. PlayStation has conducted another round of layoffs, this time impacting the visual arts team as well as its Malaysian studios. Several now former employees of PlayStation have taken to LinkedIn to share that they've been let go. The roles include lighting, material, environmental, and animation artist. A Naughty Dog alumnus who's now at NVIDIA said that those were laid off were integral to the development of Uncharted and The Last of Us. One of them was a senior project manager in Malaysia who worked on Concord and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. He said it was a tough start of the week for us at PlayStation Studios Visual Arts Group. There was a wave of workforce reduction, and unfortunately, I'm no longer part of the brand. According to Kotaku, those impacted were working on recently canceled projects such as the ones from Days Gone developer Ben Studio. However, the cuts reportedly reached further than that and affected those who also worked on internal art and technical support for PlayStation's first-party studios. People that might not be aware, Visual Arts is a group inside of PlayStation that provides a lot of art and support work for various major games from PlayStation first parties. And then when Naughty Dog was entering that phase where they finished Last of Us Part 2 and there was like, hey, what should we be doing with Uncharted? What should we be doing with The Last of Us? Visual Arts, I think, stepped up and was going to be somewhat involved with maybe taking over Uncharted in some way, or maybe if not, it wasn't Visual Arts itself. The leaders of that group were going to do that. They definitely pitched that idea. It didn't actually happen, and Naughty Dog kind of stayed in charge of those things, and that led to some people from Visual Arts leaving. But they did eventually get involved with the Last of Us remakes and remasters and helped out with those. But I guess they've kind of run out of that work, at least as far as Sony's concerned. And then obviously Sony's also canceling some of these live service games. So they're looking to save cost after mismanaging and making decisions that are not paying off. How do you feel about all this, Lucy?
Yeah, I mean, it's more layoffs in the industry. It's incredibly sad. PlayStation, I mean, we're coming up to the end of the financial year. I really worry about I don't know. I feel like we're still going to feel the repercussions of everything that happened in the last couple of years of PlayStation the cancellation, but also the removing, the deletion of Concord, the shuttering of studios. I think we're still going to feel that. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm probably not going to be. It's a really horrible time. Yeah, and I mean, like that's the thing. It's like if you think about it, like first party always used to seem like the good bet, right? As you were part of the platform holder, but no.
It is especially, annoying because Sony's last financial report from last quarter was really well done. Or they had a lot of money is what I'm trying to say. They've made the most money that they've ever made before from the PlayStation brand, something along those lines. And it's like, okay, yeah, we get that the big bets you made are not paying off, but you're making money from everything else. And it kind of feels like you should be able to roll with these punches a little bit better. Why does it have to be so drastic each time? Why can't you take these people, give them something else to work on when you clearly are making enough money to be able to expand in other ways other than just live service? So a little bit frustrating that Sony continues to lay people off, even though they are making more money than they've ever made before with PlayStation. Okay, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk about Sega wanting to reinforce its core studios, and why was Miyazaki visiting Tencent? Well, we have an answer to that as well, right after this. All right, we're back into it. Sega wants to reinforce its core studios, but don't expect new games soon. This comes from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. Sega has just released its latest financial report for Q3 of the current fiscal year, and the accompanying Q&A with company vice president Makoto Takahashi and director Nobuaki Yoshi gives a neat little insight about what the team has planned for the future. After what has been a pretty busy 12 months for Sega, releasing the likes of Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, Metaphor ReFantazio, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza, and Hawaii, the company's investors were keen to know what comes next. Sega basically said, Lucy, we're not going to have as many games this upcoming fiscal year as we did the last fiscal year. A lot of our studios are reloading, but they did say that they are not like shrinking back away from like doubling down on a lot of their studios. In fact, they said the opposite. When asked about like how they prioritize their studios to make sure like one studio gets support when they need it, Sega's like, we're not really doing that. We want to make sure everybody's getting the support they need. And it says we have not set any order of priority particularly. For example, Atlas is an important studio for us to expand Japanese IPs overseas, and we think it is necessary to strengthen it. And the studios involved in the Sonic and Like a Dragon IPs are also short of staff, and we are looking to reinforce personnel through additional hiring and M&A, so mergers and acquisitions. Maybe a little bit of the opposite of what we've been hearing recently. Got off a layoff story, and Sega talking about, hey, we want to build up these studios because the strategy's working. And I gotta say, like, as far as Sega's concerned, it does feel like the strategy's working, right? Like, that Sonic Shadow Generations game, people like that quite a bit. So even Sonic is working, and then clearly Yakuza is working, and very clearly what Atlas is doing is working. So Sega's got a pathway forward, right?
I really hope so. I obviously want to see growth, but I want it to be sustainable and not this overhiring.
Right.
I want it to be sustainable, make sure that the projects are adequately supported. It is kind of funny that it's like, don't expect more games, like way more games. We just want to make sure that the ones we are making are like staffed adequately. But I also think it's funny that they've released, like 4 Like a Dragon games in the last 18 months.
And RGG's not slowing down, right?
They've got Virtua
Fighter happening, and there's a lot of stuff happening still at that studio. So
and that's the thing, when you let a studio like the Persona team, like when you let them cook too, because I guess you've got, is it P0, which is where Hashino and Sojima went, and then you've got the Persona team, is that right? Like they kind of spawn off to do Metaphor, and then there's whatever Persona team is doing.
Generally right. I don't know. I think they might have been split off for a while, but yes, that's generally correct. Yeah.
And so I'm just like, just let them cook. I just want to see. I want to see Persona 6, but I'll wait. I guess. I still have to finish. I still have to play P3 remake.
The P3 remake. Yeah. Do you think we see Persona 6 this year? I think it might. I think it probably doesn't happen this year, but maybe early next year.
SGF feels soon. I wonder if it would be a Game Awards reveal, if anything. kind of still giving Metaphor that space. Actually, it was quite nice to see so much Metaphor stuff in Japan, which was lovely. But yeah, P4 remake, it would be the one thing that I'm also really, really gunning for. I think if I had to enforce it to my head, P3 joke, I would have to say P4 is my favorite, and so I would love to see that remade with more modern sensibilities in terms of its gameplay. Because it's weird going back to P4 after playing P5 is very, very difficult, just in terms of.
Yeah, well, I mean, also
there's a lot more resistance there, whereas P5 they streamlined so many of the systems to make it just really enjoyable in the turn-based.
Persona is so ever present that I don't really keep the timeline in my head. But is Persona 4 the one that was a PS3 game originally?
PS2.
Persona 4 was on PS2.
Yes, and then it was Vita for Golden.
Jesus, that's right.
I know.
That's why it always gets me every time I think about this. I don't keep this in my head, and then every time I remember it drives like what? It just feels like Persona 4 was like, yeah, that was a couple of years ago. That's nuts. Okay, so could definitely benefit from, and they're going to do this. Persona 3 Remake worked really well. They built the technology. They're going to get around to remaking some of those other games. Persona 4 would be the obvious next one. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually they let's take this and actually just remake Persona 1 and 2 from the ground up, kind of in this style.
I'd be very interested, because I've never even touched P1 or 2. So,
so
this is a lot of
PS3 in 2016. That's right. That's nuts.
Yeah. So this is obviously all about Japanese studios. Do we know what their plans are for Creative Assembly?
Well,
because they offloaded? The Vancouver studio?
Yes, not Remedy. The team that did Company of Heroes. Relic. Thank you. Yes, they unloaded Relic. Is Creative Assembly still under them? We know what the their feeling was. It was kind of deprecating themselves from a lot of Western studios. That's why they sold off Relic. So they are a little bit less, I think, interested in fully backing those studios. It is about, hey, we have these teams in Japan. That's where our focus is at. That's what's worked. And Sega has bounced back and forth between relying on Western studios a lot there. Like in 2011, they became a huge publisher on PC thanks to a lot to companies like Relic and Creative Assembly, and that really buoyed them for quite some time. But now it clearly is about Persona over there at Atlas, and then Like a Dragon. These are their core brands now outside of Sonic. Man.
And we've got the old Alien sequel.
Yep. Yeah. That's right. That is the thing. That you're right. So they are working on that, and that's probably still a ways off, though, right? Because that team was mostly focused on Hyenas for a while, that the entire staff was focused on that. They canceled that and probably shifted a lot of resources over to this Aliens game. Okay, all right. Here's what we're going to do now. We're going to move on to the next story. Tencent increases stake in Kadokawa, owners of FromSoftware. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. Although Tencent has recently reduced its foreign investment in video games to focus more on studios and developments in China, it still has multi-million-dollar investment deals with companies such as Ubisoft, Kadokawa, and more. In fact, Tencent has recently increased its investment in the Japanese giant from 6.8% to 7.91% of Kadokawa's total value, as reported by the Nikkei. This is very likely the reason that people saw pictures of Miyazaki, the creative lead of FromSoftware, visiting Tencent over the weekend, the last couple of days. He was there. And there's some kind of candid photos of someone who works at Tencent just being like, "Oh my God, it's Miyazaki!" Just taking pictures of him in the elevator. And there's four photos. The 4 photos. The last one is just Miyazaki looking right at the camera, like, "I could see you taking pictures of me." It's pretty good. So I think that hit the FromSoft Reddit or whatever, and there was some anxiety, some concern. I think, as always, because there are plenty of examples of big names going and starting new studios at these various companies. That's not what's happening here. I think it's very unlikely Miyazaki ever leaves FromSoftware. Seems like he's got it good there. And Kadokawa has just continually kind of increase the amount of money they're pouring into FromSoftware. So I don't think he's feels the need to like, oh, I got to go somewhere else to really stretch my legs. He's going to get to do that here.
Sorry, this last picture of him holding the cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Just deer caught in headlights.
Oh, new Miyazaki React image. Oh,
it's pretty
so
good.
Yeah. I mean, so wait, I thought Sony. I feel like I'm way behind on this. Was Sony not interested in the Kadokawa?
Sony is
over?
interested in Kadokawa, but like those conversations happen all the time. I think the reporting was they were having conversations, and the way I remember it is that Sony was trying to just get certain aspects of Kadokawa, which would have been like the anime and the anime and the video games, and Kadokawa was like, no, it's all or nothing, and that was the impasse. And so the story at the time, the news story was, oh, they are beginning to make inroads into solving this problem, this obstacle. But it also just sounded like, no, they're having conversations about it, and maybe they can figure it out, maybe they can't, maybe they can arrive at the right number to make it all make sense. But there's many reasons why that would continue to fall through, and it sounds like that's just continues to be maybe only a conversation. Although we'll see. Hey, Sony loves investing in anime. They see that as a crucial thing to have, a valuable asset to have going forward, because they can exploit that for movies and TV and video games going forward, merch, all kinds of stuff. And they, have plenty of streaming platforms that stream anime already that they could bolster with that stuff. But you can't just buy the manga from Kadokawa. You have to also buy all of their other businesses. All right. Assassin's Creed Shadows boasts a 30 to 40 hour main campaign. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Assassin's Creed Shadows players will be able to finish the game in 30 to 40 hours. That's according to the title's creative director, Jonathan Dumont, who also held the same role on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Following 2023's Assassin's Creed Mirage, which was more of a streamlined action-adventure game in the vein of the early series entries, Shadows is a more expansive RPG akin to the Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla games. In an interview with Genki, Dumont also said completionists should expect to spend in excess of 80 hours with the game. This seemingly puts the game's scope roughly in line with 2017's Assassin's Creed Origins. Assassin's Creed games are big. Yeah. This sounds about right. 30 to 40. When I hear 30 to 40 hours to complete, that usually, to me, that's like, oh, big game. That is what a big game is.
It's a big game.
Yes. So I'm not surprised by this. This is what Assassin's Creed is. You think this is what people this fandom wants? I think I know a lot of us say, hey, we want the more streamlined stuff, but I think Assassin's Creed fans really there's a lot of them, and they just want as much Assassin's Creed as possible. It seems like to me a lot of times. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a weird kind of schism in the fan base, because you have these people who like these larger RPG experiences, and then you have the other part of the fan base, which I'm in, which is I want the more streamlined approach. I want 30 to 40 hours to be the completionist time. Right. I want a tight experience. I also don't think Assassin's Creed's narratives have ever earned that runtime. And so that's kind of like, I hear the 30-40 main campaign, and I'm just like, well, Yep. I just but the thing where it's like, if you get enjoyment and satisfaction from the actual gameplay itself, and you like mopping up the map, and you like doing everything, like the I was gonna say black box missions, but I don't even take that back. If you enjoy all that, I'm not gonna yuck your yum. I think there'll be plenty for you in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but I'm a kind of person where it's like, I can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I need a narrative to pull me through. And from what I played of Shadows a couple months ago, it wasn't really doing it for me at that time. Maybe if I played it within the wider context, I would have enjoyed it a bit more. So we'll see. I'll give it a go.
I think I'm mostly with you where narrative definitely give me some like propulsion to get me through the content. But it wasn't I don't think it was Odyssey. It was maybe it was Odyssey. It was Odyssey. It wasn't Origins. It was Odyssey. Valhalla, I tried all three. Odyssey is the one I really got into and had fun exploring. And it's what happens with all the Assassin's Creed games that I get into. It worked the same way despite the format changing. I just really liked the setting and liked exploring.
Yeah.
And so, the game facilitated that, and I think that's what does happen with a lot of these fans who enjoy exploring the very big, very large Assassin's Creed games. Is it becomes sort of a tourism simulator. It's like, hey, well, I want to look
Yeah.
at these
Well, they do
different
that. They
places
do
that
that
they made.
history.
They have
The
that
history
tourism
tour
mode.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It usually gets added, post-release. And what we're talking about for people who don't know is that they kind of a even lower difficulty than like story mode. That is just like enables people to go walk around the world and see the various pieces of architecture that the developers recreated in the video game.
And also, I think, don't they have little pop-ups so it tells you how people would live and everything?
Oh, it might, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I don't
it's a
know.
little more involved than just sort of walking around.
Yeah. Probably kind of like a pop-up little thing where they kind of give you information about everything. That's neat.
Mm.
I would have loved that with Brotherhood, right? That was that Florence or Rome? I can never remember. That was Rome, I think.
Brotherhood was the Borgia in
Yeah.
Rome, I believe.
Yes, I really enjoyed that. And then
Yeah.
2, I think it was Florence, and I enjoyed
Yes.
exploring that as well. Either way, this game is okay. It is what it is, and one of these big RPG style Assassin's Creeds that have had a lot of success, and some of them have kind of missed a little bit. But it's more of that. But it's finally going to Japan, finally giving players the chance to explore that region. I don't know. What's your latest sense on this game coming out this month on its ability to meet expectations and be the game that Ubisoft needs it to be?
Oof. I really hope it is the game Ubisoft needs it to be because of the amount of people who work there and who need it to be this big. Ubisoft as a company has gone through some struggle. And that's the overarching narrative of games, right? But I think Ubisoft is in a lot of trouble. They see Tencent swirling around, and so I really hope it's good. I hope it's good. I hope it sells. I never wish for anyone or any studio to be struggling in that way. But it's very difficult because I feel like, and this is my own perception, I'm sure there are plenty of people who are still excited about Assassin's Creed, but for me, I am just kind of exhausted by it at this time. And so for me, like when you said it's out this month, I went, oh shit, is it?
Yep.
Like
I mean, really,
still...
it's out already because they shipped a bunch of
it's
physical
already
copies
leaked.
last month, and
Yeah.
they leaked, and everyone's been playing it apparently.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the fire is there for me anyway. Like I think the problem is for me is that Ghost of Tsushima came out, and Ghost of Tsushima was a really, really enjoyable game, and so it feels like the Assassin's Creed set in Japan that I was waiting years for, I've already been satiated because I've played Ghost of Tsushima.
Sure.
Whereas
and Yote's
actually, yeah, I was gonna say, and actually the Assassin's Creed that I'm excited for now is Hex, which is because I'm getting really into Middle Ages history for some reason.
The Holy Roman Empire, kind of in the Germanic regions.
Shit.
Yeah,
witch hunting and all that.
Witch
and
hunting,
so that's the kind of stuff that I'm really interested in because I want it to go dark. I think that's I want it to be dark. I want it to be.
People maligned witch hunting, but if they look around, do you see any witches? It must have worked. I'm sorry.
Actually, on TikTok, alarming amount of witches. There's a lot of them.
Wow. I'm not alarmed. I'm proud of them. I'm happy. I'm happy to see them personally.
But no, it's Assassin's Creed, and I think I'm just kind of exhausted by the Ubisoft formula in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the thing working against this game and all of Ubisoft is they have driven the formula into the ground across the board. And at a certain point, being like, hey, it's finally that version of Assassin's Creed you were asking for. And then, as you pointed out, in a post-Ghost world, that has even less of an effect as well. They're just playing with the deck is stacked against them, and so I'm in the mood for this one. I want to play this one. I want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
But I
want to see what it's like. I want it to be good.
Yeah, but I just don't think that is going to be enough to win over, unless the game is very good. Clearly, if it's very good, if it's a game of the year caliber game, then all this stuff doesn't matter. But that's what we're talking about. That's sort of the bar that they actually have to clear to get this game to where they maybe need it to be. It has to be a game of the year caliber game, and I maybe not a lot of faith that it's going to turn into that. All right. We got a little of a breaking story here. Apparently, Neil Druckmann talked to Variety and was asked about the possibility of The Last of Us Part 3. And here is what he said about that. This is a quote from Neil Druckmann to Variety in a story that came out today, I believe. Shout outs to Wario64 for gathering this. I guess the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it. I mean, so they are working on
intergalactic,
planetary intergalactic. Yes, that is the big thing right now, and that doesn't have a date, right? They didn't say 2026, right? But it probably is 2026. So, and that was the big original thing that they've been working on for quite some time. And I think the assumption was, and maybe I feel like it was maybe even said that, there's a story for The Last of Us Part 3 ready to go. And yeah, I mean, we're making another game, but we're going to get around to that eventually. At least that was the implication that I remember like receiving into my head. So does it surprise you to hear, maybe there won't be more The Last of Us?
I was waiting for this question. Druckmann says, sighing. I guess the only thing I would say is that don't bet on there being more of Last of Us. This could be it. Is he referring to the show or the game here?
I think
it's definitely game.
I think he's talking about the game. I think he's talking about Last of Us Part 3 or something. Yeah, because I think they've already said the show is gonna be 4 seasons, right? They've established.
And then they were just. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't surprise me, and I'm kind of glad he did say it, because I feel that Last of Us 1 and 2 as a duology is. I don't want to see part 3. I would definitely see other stories told within that universe, but I'm done with Ellie and Abby and everyone. Like, I don't need to revisit their characters. I'm not sure. Like, obviously, I'm not a game writer, but like, I'm not sure where they would go. So I'm okay with it. I'm also intrigued by Intergalactic. I know you haven't really seen that much of it, and it's not just because Nine Inch Nails are doing the soundtrack, but
doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Great song though.
It was good. It was really good. I honestly, Intergalactic really intrigued me. I know everyone's like, the product placement. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's good actually. They did good product placement where it like fits a tone and has a cool style to it. So I'm into it.
But no, sort of. I'm in this day and age. I am very up for creators saying, "Look, I told the story I want to tell. I'm not doing anymore. I'm not going to pump out sequel after sequel just to appease shareholders." And, hey, maybe this will be egg on my face if it does come out that they make Last of Us Part 3, or that PlayStation takes it and gives it to another studio while they're doing Intergalactic or something, I don't know. They've also released The Last of Us. How many times has The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 been released? Like, there's been, like, PS5 version, PS5 Pro versions, PC versions.
500 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've squeezed a lot out of those two games in that DLC. So I think, if you're a fan of Last of Us and you want something new, you have the TV show to experience stories in there. I'm fine with it.
I get the sense maybe that there's multiple factors here, and they include making a game that takes 7-ish years to produce and multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. It's got to be maybe one of the more stressful jobs out there in terms of like having that many people relying on you getting something right. And then you get to the end of that project and you put it out, and people look into it and they're like, "Hey, the subtext here makes me think that you're kind of shit." And the kind of people that you would like if you're making something and you're like, "Hey, here's my art. Here, like, can you get what I'm saying?" And people are like, "Yeah," and I think it means that you're a Zionist weirdo. I bet he's not in the mood to do it anymore, and I'm not complaining, but I bet I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, "What is this? Isn't worth it? All this time and effort I put into this to just put it out and then get criticized." And he strikes me as a guy that doesn't like to be criticized. So why go through all that effort when you can just kind of stand in the background, make TV shows, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of wants to move on from that period of his life where he is spending that long overseeing a video game, only to then kind of get into a stressful period of, hey, people are mad at you about the story. You know, I say this like that's the biggest thing he dealt with. The biggest thing he obviously dealt with is people being mad at him for having a strong woman in his game kill the main character from the previous game, right? So he tries to do big, bold things as far as storytelling is concerned, and also is just hated for that. So why do all this for gamers? Is probably, I think, his thought process a little bit. I bet a lot of people in his position feel similarly, but also they don't have the choice that he does, which is, oh, I can turn this TV production career that I just had into a new thing that I do and work in Hollywood now if I want. So, yeah.
But also, I mean, I couldn't imagine working on the same property for 15
That's
plus years.
another factor. Absolutely.
Like, I don't like working on the same thing for fucking.
I know. Yeah. Well, like I set up the shows I'm doing now, so I can just do whatever I want whenever I want, and then get instant feedback and move on. I can see like being like, hey, I 15 years on The Last of Us is maybe enough time to retire that idea and maybe retire that way of working for myself. So yeah.
Another breaking news.
Oh, please.
The Until Dawn remake studio allegedly shut down.
Oh, really?
Ballistic Moon.
Huh. Man, there's so many stories like that of games just coming out and then the studios immediately closing. I guess it used to be like that all the time, where a game would come out and the swaths of teams would get laid off because it's like, all right, well, we got the labor we need from you. Time to move on from you and stop paying you so we can make as much money from your labor as possible. That's a shame. Real quick, going back, I bet we get The Last of Us Part 3. I bet that comes out. I bet that game gets made and comes out, and it comes out like within the next, 6-7 years. All right. Let's see here. Last couple of stories. Charizard-shaped Cheeto sells for like $75,000 or something like that.
Insane.
It used to be like burnt in pictures of Jesus, and now we get Charizard instead, and I think this is much better personally.
This is better.
I think so. This is so much better. Don't get me wrong. Oh wow, it really does look like Charizard. Okay, I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but
does it $75,000 or $72,000 look like Charizard?
No, nothing does, dude. Not even a card would be worth that much money. Sorry to Pokemon card players.
I know that there were always weird things like this that would pop up on eBay that people would spend a lot of money on, but I do want to put this into context of where we're at today. Of rich people have so much money that they could spend
too much.
What you would, like in your wildest dreams, would kill to have as a down payment on a house on one Cheeto. That's what we're dealing with, everybody, and it's only going to get worse. It's only getting worse. So hey, I honestly, this should probably make you mad. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. And then God of War composer Bear McCreary wants to make a Mega Man soundtrack. There's some good news.
Stories like that are so funny to me because I could say I want to make a Mega Man soundtrack. Like, what if I just tweeted that out and then if people ran that as a news story?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, now, no offense, Lucy James, you're no Bear McCreary. To be fair,
I could be. You don't know.
You're right. I have not been over to listen to your new CD, no matter how many times you keep asking me. All right, I'm busy that day. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I love Bear McCreary.
I do too. Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, and Carnival. The theme song to Carnival. Those are where I'm like, who's this guy? Bear McCreary. That's an incredible name. And then years later, being like, oh, he did the God of War soundtrack. He also said that he would work with Sony Santa Monica again. So if they invited him to come work there, you know what? And I bet that is something that probably does happen as well. You get Bear McCreary, you probably want to get him back. Okay.
Forgot that he did the Rings of Power soundtrack.
Oh, that's
but
right.
But not the theme. That was Howard Shaw.
Oh, was it really? Okay, cool.
Yeah. They got Howard Shaw back to do the theme, and then Bear did the score of the rest of it. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, that does it for the headlines. I got a poll question. Let's get to that right now. And by that, I mean, let me refresh this and make sure we have all of the most updated information here. This is from yesterday, or from Monday, excuse me. Which March release are you most looking forward to getting? Two Point Museum has 10% of the respondents saying that's the one they're most looking forward to. Then 23% of the vote went to Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. 31% said Split Fiction, and 35% said Assassin's Creed Shadows. And yeah, I think that looks pretty right to me. Honestly, real good showing for Split Fiction.
Yeah, I'm excited to play. I'm gonna be playing some with Tam tomorrow, actually, on Twitch, right on here.
Yep, that's right. Part of the block of content. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching some of that. Lucy, have you played? You have played it, right? You went to the event, but have you played it since then?
No, because the person I was going to play with chopped the top of his thumb off, which as a gamer, pretty tough to.
What the hell? All right.
No, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He didn't actually cut the top of the thumb. It was just like a big.
Okay, sure. Yes. Well, I hope they recover. That sounds like a terrible injury for a gamer. I was telling Jan and Dan and Mike that I want to play with my 8-year-old, and they all seem to think that could work.
I think so. I mean, it's a little tougher, I would say, than It Takes Two. There are some points that were. I wonder if they've changed it, because I think a lot of people at the event had issues with this one particular segment where you're in a pinball situation. So we'll see. But I think an 8-year-old can handle it.
Yeah, she plays a lot of Astro and has
then she's
beaten
fine.
most of that game. She definitely needs help sometimes, but now I'll be right there to help her. So okay. Well, I'm gonna give it a shot.
I don't know if you can be there to help her, because you have to be doing your thing at the same time.
Doing my thing, right? But I can helping her a lot of times can just mean giving her a pointer about what's supposed to be happening. So
people in chat saying that Patrick's kid is also 8, and they have been handling it fine. After
asking that, Dan and Jan both mentioned that, and so I went to go look into that and notice that. I'm hopeful. I'm going to give it a shot. I never played It Takes Two because it's hard for me to line up. I'm going to go take up another person's time, and what if in the middle of it something happens to me and I have to abandon them, and I would feel bad. My kid's right there all the time wanting to play games with me. I think that can work, so I'm looking forward to it. Yep. Yeah. I will report back to everybody about how it goes.
Wait, are you gonna play It Takes Two with your kids? Because there's a bit with an elephant that's
I have
traumatizing.
Specifically not played It Takes Two with my kids because, one, I don't want them to learn about the concept of divorce from Joseph Ferris, and two, that elephant thing that I think it's specifically the kind of thing that would bum out my kids. So
it was. Look, as a child of divorce, I found It Takes Two quite refreshing to play, to be honest.
Definitely not gonna protect them from it or anything like that, but I don't know. It just always feel like I haven't played it myself. I kind of want to play it first.
It's good. I really enjoyed it, but apparently, if you're looking for gameplay variation, there's more of it in Split Fiction. So yeah,
I mean, I'm all in on Split Fiction. Sounds excellent. All right,
Mrs. Doubtfire is a better lesson for divorce. I have some questions about that.
That's what most divorces. That's how they go down for the most part.
Yeah, no.
All right, new poll question here in a second. In the meantime, Lucy James, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet if that's something you want? What else you have going on? All that good stuff.
So we're recording Berserk tomorrow morning. We have begun the Berserk Gaiden. Shout out to Jiram. Bacala posted the new show art, but Jiram drew us as if we were in the Berserk universe, and it's sick. So we've got new podcast art. We're recording the episode tomorrow. I am just going to be streaming with Tam, 10 a.m. PT tomorrow.
From the studio.
Oh, you guys going to be in the studio. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So I hope I'm there by 10, because we're recording Berserk 8 till 9, and then I only have an hour to get in. But I'm sure it's going to be fine.
We got some leeway there. You start a little bit late. It won't be the worst thing in the world.
And then I think we're doing the GameSpot show after that. And what else have I got going on? I think that's it for this week. I think that's
good deal. All right, new poll question. Which style of Tony Hawk do you prefer? Time-limited 2-minute sessions, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, or open with no time limit, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4? Jan, are those responses too long, or are you good? Looks like you're posting it right now, so looks like it's going to take. So yeah, go ahead and respond to this poll by going to youtube.com/@giantbomb. Click on the community tab there. You'll find it there. Your vote will count. We'll get the results, and we'll talk about it here on Game S Mornings on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, excuse me, let me talk into the microphone. Speaking of Giant Bomb, we have the Grubb's Gimmicks is up next. I'm going to play 2 Point Museum. So night at the 2 Point Museum with Jeff Grubb begins here in a little bit. So stay tuned if you're watching live. And then after that, Blues Brothers 2000 Blight Club. My Blightning round continues, and yet it persists. It's 4 episodes in on my. I have been playing my Blightning round game, Lucy. I think longer than it took you to play through your King Kong game. So
really,
they just did a bad job of picking a Blightning round game, and I certainly have not helped myself either by forgetting to save a couple times. But it's the real issue, the real crux of the problem, Lucy, is the game is you can only complete it by being a completionist. You have to get every collectible in the game, which is just the antithesis of a Blightning round game.
That's terrible.
And yet, it's at least more interesting than a lot of my recent Blight Club games. So I'm like hesitant to even complain. It's fine, whatever. Okay, so yeah, that's what's happening. Plenty more happening on the website here pretty soon. We continue running the blocks of content every day. So if you tune into this show, just leave us on, hang out with us. Someone cool is going to be on your screen doing something fun, and that's our promise to you. It always has been, always will be. All right, Lucy James Games, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games. I really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. I gotta bounce. I gotta go to a one-on-one. So I'll see y'all later.
Bye, Lucy. Thank you all for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.